And now we have Jacob from Asics.
Hello.
So I asked him if he wanted to be on the pod because the Superblast 3 just came out 2 weeks?
Yeah, a month ago. Came out
Just
March.
kidding, a month ago.
Yeah, I think March 1st.
Yeah.
So super exciting shoe, exciting stuff. Happy to talk about it.
Yeah, so I was thinking, well, first, what are you wearing?
Yes, of course. Well, I just ran at Golden Gate Park a few hours ago before I got here, so this is definitely my post-run fit. We got the Asics, sweats, crew neck. More importantly, I love NBA, so I'll start there. Every time I visit a city and go to an NBA game, I try to find a hat at a thrift store.
Oh, no way.
So I got a Denver Nuggets hat that the blue and red was just calling to me today.
Yeah, nice.
Socks, I got some Swiftwick Exchange socks. Shout out the Exchange. Great running store in Nashville. Great peeps. And then I'm rocking the Ronnie Feig Gel My 1.0 collab. Gel My was like a fun 2000s style shoe that Asics hasn't brought back in a long time, so I thought it was really cool that Ronnie Feig picked this one to pick out of the archive and
Yeah, it's cool.
put some modern metallic overlays and some gel in the forefoot and heel, and cool shoe.
Nice.
Love it.
We'll talk about sports style because we've got some new ones in and we're trying to get some more. So
Oh, what we got in?
we will also talk about those. But first, let's talk about Superblast.
Cool.
I was thinking since Superblast is kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of like the first super, well, not like the first, but the first like non-plated super trainer on the market. Like
definitely.
I remember when I was like 2022, 2023, and I was like looking for a new shoe. And I remember it was like a Novablast had come on my radar. And then I was like reading about them and I was like, oh, Novablast sounds fun. And then I was like, ooh, or I could get the Superblast because this sounds fucking awesome. And so I went just like straight Superblast, which was great, but I hate Novablast now because it's just like, I like started too high.
Yeah, it is a different experience, and I think definitely a more premium experience. I love the Superblast. It's so fun, and I think
so much more fun.
It was one of the first super shoes without a plate. I think that was a huge differentiator at first. And Superblast 3 takes a big leap forward, play on words with the Flight Foam Leap Foam, and I think this foam's been proven at a bunch of marathons in our Metaspeed Tokyo series, Metaspeed Ray, Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon wins. Really fast times, and to see it execute on this shoe is really, really cool. And I think I remember Superblast 1, Superblast 2. I think it just feels really, not really firm, but compared to this,
2
definitely much firmer.
Really firm. I want to find a 1 because in my head, it's like the pinnacle shoe. And I don't know if it really was that great or it was just my first try with a shoe like this, but I just like fucking loved that shoe.
Yeah.
And then the 2, I was just like too firm. Like it was like fine, but it was just like firm.
Yeah, it's funny how people experience different shoes in that way.
Yeah.
I was talking a little bit to you about this today. I like to keep my old shoes and run in them, so I like running a Novablast 1 every now and then, or today I ran Nimbus 25, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is like a shoe that I remember being so soft and cushy, and it's just crazy to see how far we've come in terms of foams, and I think it definitely was firmer than I remembered or expected it to be on the Nimbus. And I think Superblast may feel that same way. I remember trying on Superblast 2 the first time and thinking, oh, this is definitely slightly softer, but I mean, maybe not. I would have to compare one and the 2 again. But the 3 is definitely softer, and I think it changes, for me personally, the use case that I use this shoe for. I will say commercially, I think it is much better for most people for daily training. I think they really enjoy that bouncy, more compressive experience of the shoe.
Yeah.
And definitely has like a wow factor when you put it on in store, I think, too.
Yeah. I mean, it also just, I think I gave you shit for the design when I first saw it. Because it just, coming off the 2 felt so much more like, not like lifestyle, but like muted.
Totally.
And then when you pulled this one, I was like, oh, interesting. But I think like the story behind it with like the heat map of like a star or like a heat map or something, right? I also think this colorway is really pretty.
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite colorway upon release. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, but it's fun, and I think like this is the category of shoe I run in all the time. Yeah. So I don't usually use. So I'm curious actually to run in the RAD Synth because I typically don't run in a daily trainer. I actually don't think I have I think the most daily trainer I have that I run in is the OG Neo Zen, which is very soft, very bouncy, very springy. And I when we had that in store, hesitate to pull it for a lot of people because I don't think it typically fits what most people think in their head a daily trainer should be or should feel like, because it's definitely not stable.
Super fun shoe though.
Very fun shoe.
Yeah, really cool shoe. Every time I try it on in store, I'll like remind myself how it feels. I'm like, oh man, this is really cool. I would love to run in it as a daily trainer. I think.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
But I'm also saving those because they no longer make them. So I only have 2 pair. So I don't run in them a lot. And I do more kind of like social runs in it, like if we do a run from the store or something like that. Like, or if I'm just gonna go run like maybe like 5 miles and then hit up the flower market, or you know, I have an appointment and I'm gonna run home or something. I just don't want like a huge shoe. I'll wear them for that. My rotation right now actually is the 3 shoes that I have stacked next to me. So it's Superblast, and then within this category too, I would say the On Cloudmonster Hyper.
A lot of people loving this right now.
The Hyper. I like the Hyper. I was surprised. I didn't run in the previous iteration because we brought On in too late to bring this shoe in. And I had the Cloudmonster, and for me, the Cloudmonster was just too firm. It's still too firm.
I feel like it's been that way for a while for me personally as well.
Yeah, and I think some people like try the Cloudmonster on and they're like, this feels great, and then they like it because it's like cushion and stuff. But to me, it's just like it's kind of like a brick.
Yeah.
Maybe a brick that's shaped.
Sure.
Heavily.
Sure.
But this one I like because I tend to run in, you know, the UFO, my absolute favorite shoe. 90% of my road runs are in this. And I do have like an angry Achilles a lot. So I will mix it up with this just because it's slightly firmer.
Yeah.
So if I did a lot of hills or something and like my Achilles is just angry, this is what I use to kind of give it a break.
That is interesting. I'm curious to hear your personal perspective on this too. And I know it's different for everyone. But for me, I always feel like the minority when I'm like, oh, when my legs, when my ankles acting out, when my knees feel bad or whatever it may be, I'm always like, oh, I want something firmer and more stable. And I feel like most people are like, oh, I want a RAD UFO, I want a Nimbus, I want something soft and squishy. And I've never understood that for my body. Yeah,
I'm the same. I go firm just because I think like and this is kind of what I'll tell people like when they're looking for like a more stable shoe, if the foam is really soft, like I'd say the UFO probably even softer than the Superblast. The UFO, like wherever, actually it's probably a bad example because I think this is the exception because the base is so wide. So it's actually a quite stable shoe.
Yeah.
So like wherever your foot hits, the shoe's gonna still kind of coax it back because there's like a really big landing plane. If I had the Neo Zen, it would be a better example, like the OG one. Because like whenever, like you can actually, the foam was so soft and responsive. Like if I could actually like squish it. I mean, you can kind of see like when you squish it like that.
Totally.
But again, still pretty stable because the base is really wide. So picture like a more narrow base and a foam that's really soft like that. Like if you don't land perfectly or you start to get tired, you're just asking your ankles and your supporting muscles around your ankle to do more work. So whether it's like your Achilles or like, you know, all of these little like tiny muscles, you're asking them to do the work to stabilize you in your form versus the shoe doing the work for you. That's typically why like stability shoes tend to be like pretty firm. Like a Kayano is a brick. An Adrenaline, they softened up like the tiniest bit, but it's still really firm. I'm not big on like needing, like if my ankles are tired or something, like I'm not going to reach for something that has like a crazy like built up, you know, like the stabilizer on either side and all of that. Like that's a bit much, I think. But I do think just something that's like just slightly firmer so that my ankle doesn't have to do quite as much work, I find works for me.
Yeah, same, totally. I've always felt that way too. Especially for easy, shorter runs where I feel beat up. I'm always leaning towards firm. And I think now a lot of these super shoes, which I'm curious on your definition of a super shoe too. But nonetheless, I feel like a lot of these super shoes are much wider than what you would typically expect. And I think that just creates a more inherently stable feel. And I think a lot of times they can be used for that case.
Yeah, I think like people tend to, I probably wouldn't put someone who's just getting into running in a shoe like this because it's
Totally.
it's just a lot of shoe you don't need. But it's just like for me, I'm like it's just a really fun shoe to use every day. I think I was talking to somebody who was, curious about it, and they're like, "Well, why would you why do you need that shoe?" And I'm like, "Well, it's just fun."
Yeah, it's just a fun experience. I think that's the wow factor I mentioned when someone comes in a store and puts the Superblast on. It is an experience that most people haven't tried on unless you're like in the know with running and have tried on a lot of shoes. So I think that's it's very special. But yeah, to your point, as I think I mentioned earlier on, that I used this shoe now, I think with the new foam that is softer, it's kind of changed the use case for me. I now daily train in the Mega Blast, which I have. I have my own well-worn all-white pair. But I do find that it's a somewhat similar shoe. I do just find it to be firmer and therefore still having like a very snappy, responsive feel. But this is softer, so this is going to be generally my longer run shoe. I think it feels really good actually when you're going at, I think people wouldn't think this, but I find there's a lot of injury return when I'm going at a faster pace. Maybe not like 800s, but when I'm marathon pace-ish, I think this feels really good. I feel a lot of that bounce back.
Yeah, I ran in this today, and my legs are definitely dead because I did a lot of hilly things the last 2 weeks. And I was surprised by like the pace that I was like running. At one point I was like, oh, I think it's because the wind was behind me, but then the wind was in front of me, and it still felt pretty propulsive, which was like really nice. I do like the Mega Blast. I just gave mine to Mari actually because I just found I wasn't wearing them. Because I think for me with the Mega Blast, I think I really have to be doing like more like tempo stuff to feel like that snappy, like responsive foam part. It's not something I would like. It would be a shoe I'd put on when I'd be like, I want to run a 10K, but I only gave myself enough time to run a 5K.
Yeah, totally.
So let's see what happens.
Yeah, of course. That makes sense.
Whereas now I'm like trying to get better about managing that. But I also find like the UFO I like because I find if I'm talking about just like versatility, I find I can also do that in this shoe too. And so I think for me, like a lot of my runs I've been going out and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to run. I don't know how I'm going to feel until I get out there. And so I tend to just always gravitate towards this because if I want to do tempo stuff, I find it's really pretty responsive and snappy. If I'm going to run a little bit longer and my legs are getting tired, it also, because it's got that continuous rocker, it does help kind of like roll me forward. I haven't done anything long enough in the Superblast to kind of see how it feels in the back half of my run where I'm kind of like stretching it and feel tired. Whereas this one I have, so I know if I'm going to do like, for me, 10 is long because it's a long run for me. Yeah. So like 8-9 miles when I'm like kind of ready to be over, I feel like is still like really working hard for me. Where I will say my one thing with the hyper, I don't get that quite as much.
Yeah.
Like it kind of, the kind of like snappiness of the foam here does kind of remind me of the Mega Blast a little bit. But I don't get the same kind of return over distance that I feel like these two are going to give me.
Sure, that makes sense too. Different foams, definitely. Yeah. You gave me a pair of RAD UFOs, so thank you for that. It was
you're welcome.
Lovely to try them out. Always like trying competitor product. Yeah. It was funny. I was like showing them to my girlfriend, and she was like asking me questions because it looks like a Pokeball, which made me laugh. I think they should like come with like a nice red color. Yeah. And do a collaboration. But anywho, I thought it was a really cool shoe to run in, and shout out to anyone who knows what I'm talking about. I'm super nerdy and techie. I apologize. I know it's not necessarily the vibe. But I brought the Nimbus 25, and I know this shoe is old now. We're at Nimbus 28, so it's over 3 years old. Yeah. But surprisingly, I felt like the midsole geometry kind of reminded me of this shoe and the way it rolled through. I did run in this back, like in the same run. I like took my RAD UFOs off and put this on to see if what I was thinking was right. And the RAD UFO's foam is definitely much better currently, just
Yeah.
based on the
Yeah,
fact that
yeah.
we're in 2026. But I still thought there was merit there. So if anyone loves the Nimbus 25, I mean, check the RAD UFO out.
That's awesome.
But then I ran into the Superblast after, and my immediate thought putting on the Superblast compared to the RAD UFO, I was just like, oh, there's just more here. I think especially in the forefoot, there was just like much more shoe. And I think if someone wants that, like, that likes the idea of just more power, more oomph, you really get that in Superblast, which I always appreciated for that shoe.
Totally. So that's super shoes. What's your definition of a super shoe?
That's the thing. I always think super shoes as racing. And now I feel like they're super trainers, but it's
Yeah.
always weird because when I talk about Superblast and Megablast, to me, they're daily trainers typically.
But I feel like they do fall into more of a super shoe territory.
Definitely. They have racing foam. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's always just curious to hear people's different opinions and perspective.
Yeah.
And like, what's a super shoe? What's a super trainer?
I
What does
think
that
it's
mean
like-
for you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really have like training shoes and like race day shoes.
Yeah.
So for me, a super shoe is anything that's kind of like over that $200 price point.
Yep.
More premium foam, so more responsive feeling underfoot, and ideally no plate. Because
Yeah.
I feel like once you get a plate, even if it's a nylon plate, I feel like then you're actually getting into like race shoe
Territory.
Because
Totally.
I'll run in like a nylon plated shoe, but it to me it just changes the feel.
Yeah, it changes your experience.
Yeah,
of
it's
the run
gonna
every time.
firm it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it's like Neo Zen versus Neo Vista. I feel like the Neo Vista always felt heavy or heavier because of the plate.
Yeah, I see.
So yeah.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed plates because I feel like I'm a weird runner where I remember when the Hoka Carbon X came out and I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever when I was working at Columbus Running Company. And then I started working for Asics and we came out with a shoe called the Glide Ride and I ran in that thing.
Yeah. I ran in the Glide Ride.
I loved that shoe and it had a EVA plate, but I think what a lot of times plates do in those types of training shoes that you could race in are always like the curvature of that sole is always so aggressive, which I really love, and I feel like that freaks a lot of people out a lot of the time. So I get both ways, but
yeah,
I love training in that stuff. I think it's fun. I love that fun, crazy experience.
Let's see. Well, we don't carry what's the plated one? The Sonic Blast.
The Sonic Blast.
I can't. Also, we'd have a whole conversation on the whole like Blast
series.
family.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you guys! It's
I know
like,
it's a lot.
I will sell
It's
no
the-
Mega Blast now. The Super Blast is, and then the Mega Blast will update, and then the Super Blast just falls off a cliff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
I completely understand that, and I think that's like the biggest feedback I get at a demo run.
because
every
also they
time
don't
on,
even
like,
share the
Winter
Blast
series.
foam anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Because it
a
used
lot
to
of
be like
times.
Nova Blast had the Blast foam, Super Blast had it. Like it was actually, it made sense. But now
Totally.
it's like,
Now it's on
well,
the
now like
leap
the
and
Nimbus
whatever else.
27 has the Blast foam. And
Yeah, stuff is just going to keep getting cascaded down. And I think it's a necessary evil to some extent. I remember when Nova Blast 1 first released,
Yeah.
and we had our main product guy talking, and he was like, yeah, I think this will be a shoe for people who come into a running store and are being like, oh, I'm not a runner, but I want something cool to run in the gym. And all of a sudden it blew up with runners, and we had no idea to expect that. And then when I was selling it into all my stores, all the footwear buyers were like, oh, Sonic Blast looks so fresh and exciting and innovative, and we all want this. Mega Blast, it just feels like a Super Blast, but not quite as cool. And then when it came out, everyone was like, oh my God, Mega Blast is amazing.
I went Mega Blast. I didn't go Sonic
Sure,
Blast.
totally.
Because I was
you were
like,
on the
what
field.
is this?
Yeah.
I was like, why do we need another plated shoe?
Yeah, no, I think that category is in a weird spot right now across the industry. And I think, so I think that's a necessary evil to experiment and like find what actually works, but then you also get overloaded with a bunch of SKUs. And I know you've had conversations on the podcast about color, so then you're adding SKUs and
I will say the nice thing,
different
you guys don't do a
colors and-
ton of color, which I do appreciate.
yeah, that's good to hear.
I mean, like other brands, it's just like I go in to show people colors and I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
But I'd say because your colors are more polarizing, I will have people be
Sure.
like, "Can I get that in the white?" And I'm
Yeah.
like,
classic. Yeah.
I don't have space to stock a white shoe.
Yeah, I'm always an advocate for less SKUs, less colors, but I think it's a hard thing to balance from any big brand who's really trying to push and innovate and create new experiences. So it's, I don't know, a weird necessary evil. That's
Do you think
a tough
any
challenge.
of the color stuff though is just from like wanting to make sure that like you have a colorway for everybody?
Oh, of course. And I think that mentality, I think the first big brand who figures out how to trim that down and really just execute 5 colors that are really, really good
Yeah.
is gonna find a lot of success through that.
I think the good color is key because I will say I do like Mizuno also offers very few colors, but I wouldn't say they're always the best colors. And same with Diadora. Like Diadora has like a neutral and then like a seasonal color.
Yeah.
And the seasonal colors, if there's 3, I mean like 1 might be like decent.
Yeah.
But at least it takes the choice away. I would say like being on like this side of it, it's like at least, you know, because even like when somebody wants to choose their own color and then I pop into Brooks and I show them every single adrenaline colorway, they get like decision fatigue. So I do think there's like something nice to just be like, you know what, like Mega Blast, it was like white and then the purple color.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right.
This is what we have, and it's still super successful, selling through at a high rate. And I think I remember you mentioning on a previous podcast, supporting small business, you only have so much room, and it's just much easier.
Jacob did his homework.
I did do my homework.
He hadn't listened to any of the podcasts. He was like, turning on it. He's like, okay.
I'll listen to all of them. Yeah. But it was great. I think it's really interesting, and I think hopefully if more people listen to it, I think it provides a lot of key insights that I think brands could listen to and it'd be worthwhile. So
easier than writing a Substack.
Yeah, sure, that too.
God. Anyway, so that's super shoes, non-plated super shoes.
Totally.
Honestly, like if you're a runner and you're experienced and you're debating it, I just say like, why not? Like,
you definitely should. If you're a runner and you're experienced, you haven't tried it yet, I think it's
a fun experience.
Insane to me. And it's like, you're paying, what, 30 or 40 more extra dollars typically for such a better experience and such a more fun shoe. Like, I remember going through, if I'm like meeting a new staff member who's only been working at a running store for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And they know what the Hoka Bondi is at this point, right? I'm like, okay, take the Superblast, takes a similar ethos where you got a really high stack cushion shoe, super wide base, and then you're putting a Ferrari engine in it, you know, and you're paying $30 more, at least at that time. And it's just like, oh, it really clicks with those types of
it's just
store
fun.
associates.
Like if I was gonna say if I owned a running store, well I do. if I could just sell whatever I want, which for the most part I do, but I think like to actually, you know, service a wide variety of runners, you have to carry certain buckets of shoes. If I just didn't care and I was only going to carry shoes that I liked, I would only carry like super shoes.
Yeah.
Because it's just fun. And I'm just like, why shouldn't your runs be more fun?
Yeah, of course. And I know that's your mentality, and I love that. That's why I appreciate you and what you're doing here at the store so much. It's amazing.
I also carry the Nova Blast as my daily trainer.
Yeah, well, I was talking, and people were saying that Nova Blast is like the most asked shoe at this store, which is kind of, I mean, that's the way it's been. I think the Nova Blast is an interesting one because that shoe came out almost 18 months ago at this point, and yet it's still breaking its own sales records internally, which is so rare for a shoe at the 18-month point to like still be selling better than it was on its first.
Yeah, we can't keep them in stock.
Yeah.
And I think like I think the Nova Blast is a really great like entry point, and it's cool to also be bird's eye view and just like see trends evolve and stuff, and like see like the Nova Blast and what it's inspired, and that kind of like experience underfoot, because it's like, you know, the Neo Zen you could say is inspired by the Nova Blast. You could say like Evo SL has like probably was inspired by the Nova Blast.
Everyone's trying to figure out the Nova Blast
for them.
Competitor for them. Yeah, of course.
There's a new Brooks shoe coming out inspired by the Nova Blast.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's cool to kind of like see that trickle down effect, and then also just to see the Nova Blast still just have so much, because it's just such a universal and such a versatile shoe for people. So
yeah, versatile, universal love. I think it's also for brands, I think like it's cool to see that work for such a long life cycle, because I think year-long life cycles, you just don't get enough time with each shoe. Yeah. And I think it's a learning point where if you execute the shoe well and it can be really beneficial.
I would also get rid of the year life cycle. Like 2 years. Like let a shoe like actually like breathe. And I think like there's certain shoes that just Brooks Glycerin Max just piss people off with an update because nobody wants it. You know, it's like, because it takes people a while to get into a shoe. Like if you're replacing your shoe every like 6 to 12 months, and if you have like multiple shoes that you're rotating through, you might not need like a Glycerin Max update.
Yeah.
You know, and then you hear about the shoe and then you go to get it and you're just like, well, I don't like this. Or you bought it and you want to get a new one and all of a sudden you can't get it. You're just kind of also pissing people off. So just like make a good shoe.
Of course.
And just like let it live.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm curious how that's going to continue too. I feel like kind of going back to this super shoe conversation a little bit. foam innovations just happening at such a high rate.
Yeah.
Supercritical foams. I'm just curious. How
I'm
that's
curious
gonna
when we
continue.
reach like peak
Totally.
critical foam.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. I'm kind of wondering the same thing
Yeah.
too. And like to get those foams dialed in and executed for each new shoe takes a really long time from a development and a products perspective. So like I bet right now the product team's probably working on shoes that are a year and a half out. And it's like, oh gosh, when is this gonna? Yeah, when are we gonna get to the peak?
Yeah,
when
when's
is
gonna
that
be like
gonna be
max?
it?
Like,
We're like,
because also I mean like the foam for like the meta speeds and stuff. Like I have to when I bring a box of like carbon plated racing shoes down, like no matter what the brand, I have to check to make sure there's 2 in there because they're so light.
they are. It's
I have to like shake the box because I'm just like,
I have no idea.
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's talk about sports style.
So in a complete 360 180 shoes of the past.
Yeah, love it.
So we just got 2 new styles in. We've had the Diadora equipped for a while, which I probably should have as well, but we just got Mizuno Sport Style in. So I have worked really hard to bring these in store. Actually, the first time I met Courtney, who's on the last podcast, I actually asked her if I could carry a Wave Rider 10. What I did not realize is that even though I don't really consider myself a running store, like I am, but I frame it as I'm a store and I just happen to sell running stuff. To all of the running brands, I am considered a specialty run store, which means I am allowed access to a certain specific amount and type of product they sell, which is typically not these shoes.
Yeah.
So I've worked really hard, and I'm currently working on Asics because I think Asics Sport Style, as you can see on Jacob's feet, are awesome. I think they've been doing some really cool collabs. I'm obsessed with Cecile Bonson, who's like a Danish designer. She does a sick collab with Asics like every year. They're just like girly, they're fun. Also, the store is very authentically me, and even though I will tell people that you can wear, you know, X running shoe makes a great everyday shoe, I don't wear running shoes in my daily life.
I don't either. I'll run in them, then I'm throwing on my sports style pairs of shoes. And I do that at our meetings too. And a lot of the run specialty people will be like wearing Superblast 3s or Nimbus around. I'm like, I'm putting on the cool stuff. Sorry guys, I'll run in the morning with you all and put on my Superblast, but
when I'm in the
trying to
meeting,
rock the cool stuff.
it's
Let's
like
go.
It's Birks, it's these. Like when I travel, like TRA, I was like pair of Birks, and then I packed two pairs of these. I mean, even when I'm wearing sport style.
Totally.
And these were our running shoe at some point. Like this is Wave Rider 10. We're now they're coming out with Wave Rider 30, I think in like September. And they're comfortable, they're supportive.
Yeah.
They look cooler than a Hoka Clifton as an everyday shoe.
Yeah,
this used to be a trail shoe. They're actually really comfortable. I wear them on the floor all the time. The sole is Michelin, like tires.
That's
I like
amazing.
it so good.
Yeah.
So
I haven't seen this. Let me see it.
it's so good.
It's cool.
It kind of also has like court vibes. Like I'm very into court shoes right now.
I can see that.
We're bringing in Veja for fall. I don't know where I'm going to store it, but that's a fall problem. And I brought in one of their lifestyle shoes that's like a kind of like court style tennis basketball situation. And I just think it's like you could walk. Like I get a lot of people coming to the store and they're like, I walk to work all the time and I want a comfortable shoe for walking to work. That's the trick.
Totally, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you went to Paris Fashion Week not too long ago. What did you realize that people were wearing that they may not be wearing here in the States?
I was actually flattered and feather in my own cap because we also carry Flower Mountain, which I should also have here. But their lifestyle shoe, based out of their one founder is Japanese and one founder I think is Chinese, and the whole entire line is inspired by their love of the outdoors. So they're very like, they feel Japanese when you see the design. There's like little flower details. The color combos are all like really cool, and they look like a trail shoe with like really intense like lugs on the outsole, but they're purely lifestyle. I saw a lot of people wearing the Flower Mountain shoes out and about, myself included. Autry, I think.
Okay.
I think they're based out of the U.S. or maybe they're Italian. But they feel kind of like that old school sort of like either court shoe vibe, or they have kind of like Diadora vibes, like the equip that we stock. And I love this Mizuno too because it has like the raw leather So like I don't know what you call it, but like the backside of the leather is used as face, so it just has that like nice texture to it and kind of lends like kind of that old sort of like vintage feel. They had a lot of details like that. I tried to buy a pair that was randomly on sale at Mercy, but they didn't have my size, which is probably why they were on sale. But those were like everywhere.
Yeah, interesting. I remember visiting, I was in France in 2021, and I remember walking around and remember seeing so many Asics and so many Counter 14s and Quantum 360s and 180s randomly.
Yeah, but nobody's wearing running shoes.
Yeah.
Nobody's wearing running shoes.
No one's wearing running shoes. When I was in college, our team would be like, yeah, you can't wear running shoes with jeans. And now everyone's wearing old school running shoes with jeans, I guess.
Yeah, I think like the old school is cool. I also like, my mom was a runner, and I remember she always instilled in me, like, you can't wear your running shoes when you're walking around, because like your foot, I don't know if it's true. It kind of makes sense, but like the wear pattern from walking and the wear pattern from running are going to be two completely different things.
Yeah.
And so like we were just never allowed to wear running shoes as like regular shoes.
Yeah, totally. Makes sense. That's interesting.
And from a style perspective.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, love it. So that's, and I think on Asics end, we've been really pushing that category and with like a really cool, sustainable, controlled growth that I really respect our team for, not just putting out shoe after shoe. And I feel like at this point we kind of could. And we've done really well. So excited to see how that continues and excited to buy some more pairs for myself, of course.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Cecile Bonson ones to come out.
Yeah, I know. We'll see what the next one looks like. I'm excited.
But yeah, I think there's huge opportunity, because I just think like there was like just something that happened during the pandemic where we got used to a certain level of comfort.
Yeah.
And like nobody kind of wants to go back.
Yeah, I agree. I am curious, do you think there's room, even though you've been mentioning like, oh, Cliftons don't look as good as some of these old school shoes, do you think there's possibility for performance shoes to also be stylish and worn well? And what shoes do you have currently do you think really do well with that right now?
Yeah, so Diodora, I think by hands down. Like Cellula and Nucleo we sell primarily, I would say. I mean, we sell it to some people for running because the Nucleo is just insanely comfortable, but I think that does have that more like lifestyle feel.
Yeah.
And before I got proper kind of like sports style shoes, and those were the two that I would pull the most for people looking for just like a comfortable everyday shoe.
Yeah.
And then I would say like On, I think, because like the sole is so iconic that people don't realize when they see people walking around in On shoes that it's like a different style. They just think that like any On is the style that they see people walking around in. So from a fashion perspective, when I pull those for a lot of people, I just like the look of them.
Yeah.
And they're like comfortable and stuff too. But I think like that one is the one that they see where they're just like, oh, I see people wearing these around, and like, you know, it's like trendy or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. What would you wear if you were going to wear running shoes?
That's a good question. I like flashy stuff, honestly. I honestly like a lot of the trails right now, and I feel like
I do trail shoes. Trail shoes I'll wear as
trail shoes for lifestyle is, I think, has been a trend for a second.
My Nordas don't actually see dirt. Neither do the Mizunos.
Yeah, I've seen you wear those all the time, and I would be doing the same.
Yeah.
So I would say in that range, I think Norda's obviously done an amazing job at capitalizing on that balance. So yeah, I would go with that. I would also think if there were like cool pack colors, which I know we're just like, oh, more colors, more packs. But I think if the Superblast 3 had like a really cool pack or maybe a material
like
change.
Or something.
Yeah, you know, give me a suede Superblast 3 or a crazy pack color that looks flashy. I would love to wear that.
Brooks did with the Adrenaline, they did like a retro pack last year.
I remember loving that.
I just got rid of them because they actually hurt my feet. It's Achilles. Tore up my Achilles.
Yeah.
But I got comments on those like all the time.
Yeah, of course.
I could still be selling that colorway.
Yeah, I'm really, I'm an advocate for this, and I'm hoping I see this within Asics, and I think other brands too. I hope it's just like the sports style team being able to take a performance shoe and do it their way. I think would be so beneficial for a store like this, and would kill. I think that'd be amazing. So we'll see. I know for Nova, going back to Nova Blast 1, I know we had like a Nova Blast 1 SPS, and those colorways were really, really good. Yeah. And I think the Nova Blast was still like under the radar enough where I don't know how successful that project actually was, but I thought it was really cool. Yeah. And I would like to see more and more of that going forward. I think that's a no-brainer in my mind. So we'll see what happens.
I think that'd be cool. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I
Of
know I'm techie and nerdy, but hope did the job.
No, it's good because I'm not. So
Yeah,
I'm just
create
pure
the
aesthetics
balance.
over here.
Yeah, hey, I love it.
Amazing.
That's all right.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cool.